great race in the Precision Racing League. Green flag flies, we're underway. Side by side, door-to-door contact. Incredible action here in the PRL. And they come together. After all the fighting, it ends in tears.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Ever witnessed someone so fast on track you doubt you could ever be on their level? The mission of Advanced Motorsports is to demonstrate the speed is achievable for everyone. With the expertise of some of the best sim drivers in North America, we are set to release free content on social media and comprehensive guides on our website. For those seeking the ultimate experience, our Advanced Motorsport Institute and personalized coaching sessions are the way to go. No matter your level of experience, we invite you to follow us on our social media to learn to be fast.
24-hour circuit is where we end it all tonight. Of course, started at Interlagos before moving to the Glen. Watkins Glen in New York, Road America, Monza, Circuit du Monde, de 24 du Monde. How about that? J'ai pas français. And then we went to Sebring, Red Bull Ring, Mount Panorama, and Bathurst. And then, of course, tonight is the Nordschleife. Let's look at the pro standings, or the AM standings, I should say, first. Evan McKay with a 20-point advantage over Michael Fowler. It's going to be important. This is not a drop week. You cannot drop this week. The final race of the season will count no matter where you finish. If you miss it, you get 0 points. If you race in it, finish last, you get the last place points. Does not matter. So this is where it stands. A 20-point advantage for Evan McKay in AM Series means that in the case that Fowler does not get pole position, and currently it does not look like he is on pace to do that in tonight's race. All that Evan McKay will have to do in the AM Championship is gain 20, or I should say 38 or 37 points. We'll get back to that. The pro driver standings are pretty much the same as the overall standings. A 24-point advantage for Jim Feliz over Tyler Graff. What that means is that, again, his pole position is 1 bonus point. They're in qualifying right now. If there is no pole position gained, all that would have to happen is a 32-point advantage by the end of the night. A 19th place finish is all Jim Feliz would need. The AM standings and the pro standings combined form a little bit of a different picture, of course. The team standings show as well, pretty much guaranteed almost to be SRTE yellow, followed by sister team SRTE gray. Of course, the final podium spots are not exactly known, second or third between gray and Madworks. We'll have to see where that drops to in just a few 35 and 40 minute races, at least later on tonight for the Sprint Series standings. But let's take a quick moment to thank our partners with the Precision Racing League and RaceSpotTV, and that starts with Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit RaceboxSimRacing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Muradness. Muradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And finally, Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast. Fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. It is dark. It is gray. It is uncomfortable for all the drivers here in this qualifying session. With just around 5.5 minutes to go here, 66 degrees Fahrenheit is your track temperature, and it is very, very humid with the chance of rain. That is just concerning, I would say, for everyone here, at least in this current qualifying session. It was an hour, 50-minute long qualifying session. Evan McKay currently on the first on top of the leaderboard right now. Overall, that is quite impressive and would just add on to a fantastic season for the AM class driver. You know, we have seen a couple polls from AM class drivers. Ross Sortino has gotten a pair himself, but other than that, no other AM class driver has gotten pole position in PRL GT3 fixed series action so far this season. 4.5 minutes left to qualify. These drivers get 2 laps in a 20-minute qualifying session, so a bit elongated compared to where we usually see them, and he will continue moving on here. Just a couple minutes left, a minute and a half left in this lap. Nordschleife combined is around 14 miles in length, and goodness me, there's so many turns here, so many corners. It's so easy to mess up. And with Evan McKay currently on provisional pole position, and we go back to Sean Provost, also in the AM class, currently sitting 11th provisionally after his first of 2 laps. Michael Fowler, 20th, is not going to do anything good for him in this race, as I believe he's in the big screen beyond VR glasses, but I'm not exactly sure there. That's a fairly new piece of technology. Pretty interesting to see anyone wearing it here. If McKay does stay on pole position provisionally, remember he would get that bonus point. He'd go 21 points in front. The tiebreaker in the case of a win would go to Michael Fowler, so we have to go based off of that point. Ian Cabana currently 16th in the AM class as well. So if McKay holds on to the pole, he basically needs to get 37 points to guarantee his spot as the winner of the AM class. That's a 14th place finish. Without the pole, it's a 13th place finish that he would absolutely need, as David Bush is just 15th right now. All the drivers currently, you see that timing, that interval right there. It's the gap between he and the next driver up on your screen, as Tyler Graff currently in 8th. He needs a big result here for the pro driver and the overall drivers championship. Jim Felice currently provisionally 3rd, and he's about to cross the line. Actually, Jim Felice on his qualifying lap. We'll see where he goes up to. This is a fast time, and it moves him up into P2, as you see on your leaderboard, with 2 minutes 15 seconds left to go. The fast lap in practice was Isaiah Osborne with an 8:17.730. McKay still holds on to that top spot, and I think he just ended his second lap and did not improve on it. So McKay, the only one to dip into the 8:17 slot while we are currently watching Michael Fowler. This is a big time situation here, and it's almost time to hit that alert button, that alarm button for Michael Fowler, who just throws the car through the final few corners of this course, trying to get back onto the GP circuit. It's going to take a little bit of speed here, and he's not going to even have anywhere really close to contend with a time that Evan McKay has put. William Fenton moves up into 11th place. Michael Fowler, 21st, is currently where he stands, 13 seconds off the pace. Now, over the course of a 14-mile lap, that's not necessarily a horrible time, as Tyler Graff spins it around, hit the curb. These curves will come to get you. He's going to be provisionally in 9th place. You see how big the gaps are at the end of just a couple laps here. This race will not be elongated by any specific amount of time. It's still 35 minutes. With that being said, it's all but likely that we'll hit 5 laps. It's most likely going to be a 5-lap race. I don't expect us to somehow get a 4-lap race. 8 minutes times 4 is 32, and then of course if the averages are for the leader around 20 seconds, you're looking at getting the white flag by the time we get there, as qualifying has ended with around 1 minute and 40 seconds to spare. Evan McKay on the pole. Big for the AM class driver. It's his first pole in his PRL career. Jim Felice will start alongside. And how about that for poetries? Poems for poetry? You know what I'm trying to say. McKay and Felice, the 2 championship leaders in the pro overall and AM. Felice overall and pro, McKay AM, they are 1 and 2. Brett Thurman, Christopher Rhines, Ross Sortino, 2nd in the AM class. as well as in P6, Isaiah Osborne, Jared Keane, Tony Costello, Tyler Graff, Colin McKenzie, William Fenton, and Andrew Venero, your front 6 rows, while Sean Provost, E. Cabana, David Bush, Jason Finch, Jay Steffi, Nicholas Johnson round out your top 18. That's half the field. Felix Feliz, Joey Costello, Michael Fowler, not what he needed. Dale Peterson, 22nd. Buck Hamilton and Pete Mejia, 16 seconds behind in the qualifying lap in 24th position on the starting grid. Regan Chandler, Sully Saad, and Waldo Walden, 27 drivers, set valid qualifying laps, while Dave Peterson, Sean Mulholland, Nathan Jennings, Kevin Bergquist, Creighton Carter, Francis Barant, David Morse, Ryan Chandler, Robert Jeffries, and Scott Jeffries round out your 36-car field. Around a minute away. It is dark. It is a dry track. It is 10 p.m. in 12-hour times, 2200 in a 24-hour clock. It is foggy. It is a little bit windy, 9-degree winds, 8 degrees currently right now. And this is going to be a unique race. The tires should not get overly heated or hot. There is, remember, a 40% fuel capacity for these GT3 fixed series race cars. And with that being said, these drivers will have to make a big decision to come in at the end of lap 2 or to come in at the end of lap 3 to get fuel. I want to say every driver will try and go down at the exact same time, but I'm truly not sure. I also believe that the sprint race, even though it's 40 minutes later on and 5 minutes longer than this race, because of how long these lap times are, we're not going to see any sub 8-minute laps, meaning that we should get the white flag, or at least the checkered flag, for the sprint race after lap 5. So these both should be 5-lap affairs at the Nordschleife 24-hour combined circuit. Oh my goodness. I'm ready to go. I am ready to go. The 2 championship leaders. Evan McKay in the AM class gets the pole, and Jim Feliz in pro and overall gets to start alongside on the front row. The long Dondrahoa straightaway is where these 36 drivers will all get ready to go here. Looks like all 36 have loaded up into the race. At least everyone that qualified with times. 2, it looks like, who did not qualify, did not take the start of this race. They might join after the fact. For Jim Feliz, all he needs to get now, with a 24-point advantage, is he needs 32 points in this race to win the championship. That's 19th place is all he needs. 20th if Tyler Graff cannot maximize the remaining amount of points with a fastest lap time as well as the win of this race. So 19th for Feliz is all he needs. Evan McKay, now up 21 points. All he needs is 37. If McKay finishes in 14th, he is the AM Class champion. For Feliz, it's 19th. Ready to go here. The iRacing safety car pulls down pit lane, and Evan McKay gets us going. The Nordschleife Green Hell. It's foggy, and we're ready to go as they all start to pile into the first corner in the GP circuit. Yokohama S, Thurman on the inside in the 3rd row of cars. They cut to the left very quickly. How it works here in this 24-hour combined circuit at the Nordschleife. McKay still gets away with Jim Feliz in tow. A little bit farther back is Thurman Rines going side by side with Ross Sortino. Sortino tries to make a move on the outside, almost gets forced completely off the track. A little bit of argy-bargy and elbows being shoved right there, and they still go side by side. Oh my goodness, as they head to the southernmost portion of the circuit. a big 180-degree big corner. Sortino gets hit from behind. He tried to slide up in front of Rines. Rines goes off track, and now there's more cars piling in. A Porsche, multiple cars. This is a big mess in the back. There's nowhere to go. If you're the rest of this field, Sortino takes a tow. Christopher Rines keeps going. For Sortino, that's P3 in the championship, probably completely out of the picture now. Was third by 5 points coming into it. And he was also, remember, 22, at the moment 23, or 33 points out of the championship lead. That is championship over for Sortino. Evan McKay's job just got a little bit easier, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's going to be simple as they head onto the Nordschleife as we speak. It's now really dark here in through the green hell portion. We get a replay of what happened here. I mean, Sortino kind of slid up. It was Rines and he not giving each other any space, and more cars just start piling in. It's not, oh, that's a hard hit right there. Was that the 79 machine? Yeah, Sully Sod just kind of came barreling through and T-boned Rines right there. That's just unfortunate for them all. And as a matter of fact, you know, when that all happens, it's almost completely blind, right? You don't want to go in with full speed, but it's lap one. You want to take every advantage you possibly can. Unfortunately for some, that is season over, race over, very prematurely. This race that is supposed to be 5 laps in length. We're all heading through the green hell, one of the fastest portions of this racetrack, going around Arenberg into the forest down here. It's so hard to pass at the Nordschleife, and it's unfortunate when you feel like you're having a good run, but then you make one mistake. These curbs will come out to catch you very quickly. Hearing some sorries being said by Robert Jeffries in the back of the field. Must have been an incident here. Look at this, Sean Provost trying to get around with Tony Costello right in front of a bit of a battle that's going on. Tyler Graff currently trying to make some moves. Graff has gotten himself, it looks like, into 7th place right now, just past Jay Steffi. Big for Graff, who needs to make up spots over Jim Feliz. Feliz needs to drop spots quickly, because right now, McKay and Feliz are easily cruising to their class championships. And for Feliz, the overall championship, as Graff currently leads the trio of Steffi and Venaro as we continue moving through this circuit. There's a replay here of what happened to David Morse. And it looks like it came through Arenberg. A big run through Flugplatz. And another replay of Felix Feliz, who's back down in 31st. Oh, just a little bit off course right there. And obviously you get into the grass at speeds like that while you're trying to slow it down to the Audenor Forest. Again, apologies for any mispronunciations or accents that are off. That will definitely happen for a race at the Nordschleife. Battle for 5th, again, with Costello. This is the closest racing action on this track. You've got to set up passes here. We're hearing more apologies being said over the radio. Ryan Chandler having to apologize to someone. Again, not even exactly sure. So we get another replay here of what happened. Why Ryan Chandler apologized, and that's a big hit in a fast right-hand corner all the way back down in the 30th place. And already we're seeing attrition rates being somewhat of a factor here, and as Dave Peterson was the other one involved in that incident. And as there's another look at the replay, I mean, if you make a mess here and you have to tow it back, as Dave Peterson did, and Brian Chandler continues on. It's kind of unfortunate, right? Because you don't want to just tow it back, because that's race over right there. But you don't want to live through for another 6+ minutes to the end, as we watch on board with Jim Feliz trying to chase down Evan McKay as we speak. Doing a really solid job right here of just staying close by. It's really difficult, right? Brett Thurman also is just 1 second behind Jim Feliz right there. You see him in that top 3 battle. The top 4 cars are all Porsches in this field, which can be a little bit twitchy at times, but it's definitely working out to these drivers' favors as they kind of go around the smaller of the, well, I wouldn't say smaller, they're getting closer to the smaller of the carousels before heading it back down into the Angerhoa, one of the more difficult sections of the track that they are currently on right now. It's so easy to put a left side or a right side up on the curbing, trying to get it at maximum straight angle. However, you do that, you also risk the softness or the stiffness of the suspension really coming out to bite you as the leaders start to go through the climb carousel. Seven minutes gone in this race. And still some close action, some close battling. This one for 9th. Andrew Bonaro, Andrea Osborne, the Client's Carousel. They all run through it. And you see that just in front. Where's that? Oh, there's a car. There's a multiple car collision right here. 3 cars off. And we'll get a replay exactly where this took place. It's Colin McKenzie. Oh, no. McKenzie, he was doing pretty solid. They go side by side, and actually wasn't even on McKenzie. He tried to make a move, and on the outside got loose and just lost control of the car. Unfortunately, that could be race over. He's just got to keep that car planted. Leader's about to cross the line. We're going to lap 2 officially of this race. McKay, Feliz, Thurman. Your top 3 remain exactly as they are. First lap of the race, 8-minute, 20-second time for Evan McKay, who continues to lead through the Yokohama curve. You know, this GP section, it's for a lot of drivers, it almost feels like it's just a precursor to the Green Hell, to when they actually get onto the North Course, the Nordschleife. And when they do get to the GP course, it is obviously a little bit more modern, a little bit more custom to make moves down in the GP circuit. So sometimes you see a little bit of extra aggression through here, because you know that if you're within a second of the car in front, or I should say a couple tenths if we're being honest here, you have a chance to potentially make a move. As you see Isaiah Osborne trying to catch Jay Steffi sleeping. Steffi went a little bit wide through that corner, but Osborne went wide on the exit, scrubbed off a lot of speed because of it, and lost some time to Steffi, currently in the top 10. Oh, who is this off track? Way in the back of the field. I'm going to get a replay here. William Fenson, another driver who's had a really solid bit of races in this season, but just losing it there. It's quite easy, I guess, to lose it around that Dunlop. I don't want to say it's a carousel, but there's that 180 hairpin at the end of the GP circuit as Jim Feliz and McKay carry on with their race into the Nordschleife, going through this, I want to call it first sector, for the first little part of the Nordschleife. Hotzenbach is not the easiest thing to do, as we get another replay here. Fenton just kind of losing it. Remember, it is 66 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature, so the grip, yes, it's there, but maybe the tires, after going through the Dandrahoas, maybe they might not be completely up to temperature. They cool off a little bit after such a long straightaway, but they shouldn't cool off too much, even with the lowered track temperature. As Sean Provost continues to chase down Tyler Graf. Graf has made his way up to 5th place, and he's doing a decent job of providing some maybe minor stressing to Jim Feliz. Isaiah Osborne was his 3rd place in the championship and came into tonight with a mathematical chance, but it would have required a Jim Feliz did not even show. But because Feliz has showed, he's going to at least get 36th place points. You also have to complete a specific percentage of the race to get those points. However, it's 50%. So as long as Feliz finishes, I'd say, lap 3 of this race, that eliminates effectively Isaiah Osborne from championship contention. He still has a chance to get in the 2nd, but not the way it's going right now. Right on board with Osborne, continuing to move through this green hell circuit, one of the faster portions of it at the Nordschleife. Sean Provost currently 2nd in the AM class. Not riding with, but watching in behind Tyler Graf. And it is dark here. It is dark, and it's scary to go fast around here, as the top 5 are now Porsches. Tyler Graf in 5th. Sean Provost is the lone Lamborghini in the top 10, while the lone Audi, the lone Ferraris, Tony Costello, Andrew Venaro, running out 9th and 10th. Jay Steffi in the Porsche, and Isaiah Osborne actually also in an Audi for this race, and to end the season out. Venaro and Costello, only a 2nd separates these two. This is a spirited battle right now, with 4 cars in contention for this one position that Tony Costello holds 7th place, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Venaro has Jay Steffi right at the gearbox, right at the rear wing. Let's see how Steffi is able to set up a good move here as they pick up speed. And again, another fast portion of the Nordschleife. It's going to be quite nerve-wracking moving through this forest, this left-hand kink. You almost have to take your foot off the throttle just for a moment to make it work before another right-hand sharper kink moves up. Tyler Graf, Sean Provost. Through the carousel they go. Provost will take it as well as Graf just did. That's exactly how you want to take it. Tony Costello, by the way, in behind, did not take the carousel in the right way. Completely missed it and lost the position to Andrew Venaro. So we're talking about taking it the right way, utilizing that banking. I believe it's 17 degrees of banking in that carousel. And when you do catch it, you carry a lot of speed through that corner. When you miss it, you scrub off at least a 1.5 seconds. It is so stark, the difference in success rates and speed when you miss a corner there. Right on board right now with Robert Jeffries, one of our in-cockpit cameras. Motion's 1-to-1 right here. He's got that triple screen setup a little bit far. It almost seems a little bit far from his face. He's about to go into the carousel, swapping around some of our onboards here. Before we catch another replay of what happened to Joey Costello here. Just losing it. Too much speed taken into the corner. Couldn't get that car turned, and there was a two-wide battle going on right as they moved on by. So here's a question I've got that we might have answered in just a short time. When do these drivers come into the pits? Because they need fuel. No doubt about that. They will not be able to go in total 70 miles on a single tank of fuel. Do they come in after lap 2? Or do they come in after lap 3? Battle for 7th. Moving around the Pines carousel. Taking it perfectly. A better line that time from Tony Costello, who, by the way, took the position back from Andrew Venaro. So these four are really swapping positions right now. They're 4 seconds in front of David Bush, who's on the outside looking in of the top 10. They're around 2 seconds back, or I should say 1 second back only, of Sean Provost for 6th place. Now here's where the slipstream becomes quite intense. I'd say Tony Costello was a sitting duck if there ever was one, but now Andrew Venaro jumps to his right side and into 7th place. He retakes. Will Jay Steffi be able to make a move? Now they come down to the final few corners. Tiergarten is tough. And the final corners before they head back onto the GP circuit. All got to slow it down. They do just that. You can take a lot of that inner portion of the curb there. And look at this. Everyone, it seems, is coming into the pits except for Tyler Graff. So let's talk about this real quick. David Bush also not going down pit lane. Almost the entire field heading into the pits right now. So they all come for a quick splash of fuel. Joey Costello, by the way, just got everyone held up in behind him. He hit the inner wall in the pit lane. More cars trying to come out of pit lane side by side and into the provisional lead of this race. Goes back Evan McKay. David Bush underfueled, potentially, thinking this race might go to just 4 laps. If that is the case, I think he'd be sadly mistaken there, but we'll have to see. We'll get a replay here of Robert Jeffries earlier on. Too much to the curb, left side. Got his tires in the grass, and that's what happened. David Bush just letting Jim Felice go on by. So doesn't feel like he can be a part of this lead battle. And it's quite sporting of him. So who else decided to stay out on track? We have, of course, Tyler Graff. Is that it? And I can actually say what I'm not thinking of was that David Bush, I don't know why I said he was going out pit lane. I said just before that was the, he stayed out. So David Bush stayed out and is in this provisional lead battle only because he stayed out and picked up some time. The only driver who didn't pit from any of the lead runners was Tyler Graff. I mean, he has to go off strategy. There's no question about it. He needs Jim Felice to make a mistake. But is this the right move? We'll have to see what Graff's pace is. It's a couple seconds off of the best time that he potentially could put in. So I'm not sure that was the right call, although he won't have to spend as much time fueling up. Not going for tires. They're just specifically taking fuel. As Jared Keane, we ride with him, currently 7th. He'll take 6th. Actually, he'll take 5th once Bush and Graff go down pit lane. And all but likely, Evan McKay will probably go back into the lead of this race. With now 15 minutes to go. It's why the Nordschleife is so big. Only 5 laps in these races. And we're already not even done lap 3. And more than halfway is gone through it. So here's my other question. Do they have to come into the pits twice? If they all pitted except for Tyler Graff at the end of lap 2 and it goes 5 laps, do they all have to come into the pits for one more lap of fuel at the end of lap 4? Because if that's the case, and Tyler Graff is able to make it 3 laps here. No one else is. I mean, Tyler Graff makes it 3 laps. He's going to prove that it can be done. Let's catch another replay here. David Morse out of the race. We've already seen him with some problems and some struggles. He decides to park it. That's day done for him. Not happy with how it went. And a lot of drivers already out of this race. 26 by my count are still in it, still on track and in it. So Michael Fowler, by the way, out of this race. We didn't quite see when that happened, but Michael Fowler is out of the race. Ross Sortino, remember, had his problems in this race. And Sortino out of the race as well. Sean Provost came into this race 37 points and is now 38 points back of Evan McKay. He is the only driver that has any shot now of dethroning Evan McKay's potential crown is Sean Provost. Was that Sean Provost right there? Oh, no. You speak of him, and then unfortunately a mistake happens. He loses all those positions. Oh, man, that's almost championship completely over there. No question there. He needed a big swing to take anything away from Evan McKay in this championship battle. There's 38 points the difference coming into this race. And, I mean, goodness me, all that was needed now is 19 points for McKay. And McKay's got it. McKay just needs to finish this 1 lap, and then he will certainly be crowned champion with almost nothing to worry about, except potentially getting his first win. I'd like to welcome into the booth Justin Prince. How are you, buddy?
Oh, you know, outside of, traffic, and to say the very least, having a couple incidents involving car accidents, things have gone very, very stressful. Well, that's kind of fitting for the racetrack, isn't it? It's very stressful, very incident-filled.
I was going to say that, we are so used to talking about accidents happening in this race. Attrition rate has been quite high, only around 26, 27 drivers out of the 36 still on track. Where were you driving at the Nordschleife to get back here?
Basically is the best way to describe it. Traffic sometimes can be described as the Nordschleife. After all, it's almost like being on the Autobahn in some cases. But in all seriousness, when it comes to the racetrack here today, it is always a challenging one. And we've seen it all throughout the night, especially in these conditions. For a series like this, to have the combined layout, you have to be near pixel perfect. And for a lot of drivers, we've seen the battles today kind of emphasize, well, it's kind of hard to survive here, to say the very least.
Yes, they call it the Green Hell for a reason, and I know you're just joining, but I'll give you a quick recap, and quick viewers all the recap right here. Evan McKay, the AM Championship leader, coming into this race by just 20 points, not only got pole position and that bonus point, putting his championship lead to 21 points, but Michael Fowler, who was second place in the championship, wrecked out of the race. Ross Sortino, who was third place in the championship, 33 points back, was out of the race. And Sean Provost, just a few minutes ago, had a big spin, putting him way back in the field into 15th. Evan McKay was pretty much guaranteed the title as long as he finishes 50% of this race, which will happen at the end of this lap, lap 3. That's pretty much AM Class Championship secured for Evan McKay right here. He needs 19 points to solidify his mark over Sortino, or I should say Provost. And I mean, the way McKay is driving right here with provisional P1, that's pretty impressive. Let's talk about this absolute hornet's nest going on down the Dandra Hoa right now. That is a 6-car slipstream.
And And it kind of emphasizes how close a lot of these drivers are in raw pace, because to be this close, you have to be going into the infield section. But look at that, your overall leader just had to come to the pit lane. Tyler Graf had a 15-second advantage. Now that puts McKay, as you said, up to the very front of this field. And right now, it could get interesting for a lot of the others on strategy. Busch the third in.
Yeah, let's talk about Busch and Graf, because those two were the only two drivers that decided to, at least from the lead pack of this race, go in after lap 3. So I think Graf was saving a little bit of fuel there to put a 2-lap dash to the end. That leads me to ask, with Evan McKay, with Jim Feliz, as McKay and Feliz are now 1-2 once again in this race, do they have enough to make it with the pace they're going, as Robert Jeffries, another incident, out of the race right now? Do they have enough, Graf and McKay, to make it without another stop? William Fenton, another incident. It's the same drivers having problems. That's a bad corner to have a problem at, and just look how dark it is. If you lose headlights here at the circuit, especially, I mean, look at what that camera shot right there is a good example how dark it is with 8 minutes to go here and just around a lap and, well, I don't want to say a lap and some change. It's more like a lap and a $50, a quarter, and a dime.
Yeah, it comes pretty tightly when it comes to fuel strategy and why it's so critical. Even when a tight race like this happens, just being able to stretch the fuel tanks is kind of critical between that one lap. Because there's not a lot of time to do it in theory. Because remember, this is about 6 to 10 minutes per lap for most of these drivers here. And that's not easy to be able to try and pinch down in terms of time. So in other words, it's been important for a lot of drivers at least to stay with somebody to work with, to be able to try and save a bit and try and make sure they can coopetize their way to the very front, it seems.
Coopetize.
It's another word for coopetition.
I love it. Cooperate?
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. This has been a interesting race between the two championship leaders. And honestly, as long as they don't make a meal out of the last lap and 3/4 here, we have been given a treat between the two most likely soon-to-be crowned champions of their respective classes. I say most likely because if they do have to come into the pits and we see a situation where potentially we don't see a pit stop coming from Tyler Graf, I mean, that could be quite important. Currently 28 seconds behind the lead. If he doesn't have to pit one more time, 28 seconds might be around where that pit delta is. These top two have to come into the pits one more time in this race. So still some question marks for these drivers as they start the run down into Metzger's field. Yeah, Justin, we're going to have to really sharpen up our German pronunciations here.
Yeah, German can be a very challenging language, to say the least. But look at some of the battles starting to form up. This for about 9th spot. Rhines along with Tony Costello going back and forth here. And I find it intriguing when you see battles like this form up even this late, even in a sprint like this, because you need to be smart. You need to pick the right spots. It looks like at that point, pretty clear that Rhines having to play some give and go, and we have
Andrew Venaro. Oh no, Andrew Venaro making a mess of it. Gets the right sides onto the grass. Going into the Ottoner Forst. That was, oof. We've seen that incident happen a few times into that corner during the course of the initial 4 laps of this 5-lap race, which, by the way, Justin, the math works out, but we're going to see 5 laps in both races.
It was a Ferrari, not Ford, apologies there, but that math is going to be something I think a lot of people are going to have to look back and forth at, make sure they're right on the money, to make sure the strategy is down. And I think it's going to be on that phrase alone, where a lot of note-taking's coming in. We've seen a lot of these drivers obviously run a lot of time in 24 hours at this racetrack. So that takes weeks of preparation. I think in terms of the prep part, most people know what to expect for tonight, at least for their car, for a sprint format or even a one within an hour format. It's just, can you make the field work?
Well, that's the thing that is probably the weirdest part of this track being the finale for both the GT3 Fixed and GT3 Sprint Series. Whereas the Sprint Series goes 40 minutes and the Fixed Series goes 35 minutes because of the length of a lap here. Both of them are going to go 5 minutes. That's not what's interesting to me. What's interesting to me is the fact that the fuel capacities are different. Whereas in the Fixed Series, you have a 40% fuel capacity. In the Sprint Series, you have a 50% fuel capacity. I don't think there's any concern over running 3 laps here, as we see Evan McKay making a mistake through the carousel, and on to the lead goes Jim Feliz. That is maybe the difference between winning this race and finishing in second, and might be the difference between a Pro Class driver and an AM Class driver at the Nordschleife, Justin.
Was it too early is the question. Depending on how the laps fly, remember we talked about this just the last time around. It could be tight in terms of if this is the checker flag, correct me if I'm wrong, or if this is going to be indeed the white flag. A lot of mistakes from McKay starting to build up, though. Was Feliz using them as a saving device? Is another question.
It's a good question there too, Justin, because, you know, I was starting to say 50% fuel compared to 40% fuel. If these drivers are concerned about running 3 full laps here at the Nordschleife without fuel saving, then I almost wonder if... I mean, I don't think there's a question over whether you can go 3 laps on a 50% fuel tank. There definitely is questioning of whether you can go full force 3 laps on a 40% fuel tank, and I don't think that's what we saw from Tyler Graf or David Busch on their 3rd lap out here. I think they were trying to fuel save. Oh, and oh, look at that! Jim Feliz almost completely losing it there. That could have been race over for him, and potentially a bit of concern for the championship, especially where Tyler Graf is concerned. Graf is 2nd in the championship. He had to go off strategy, and I wonder if he played it decently well if Graf and McKay come down into the pits after this lap.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge question right now. Let's see what happened, though. Remember, Chase definitely was a part of that intense battle for 9th. One little bobble right there in the first place. But why happened fully here is the quick question. Well, I think we're still waiting on that moment, but can say at the very least it's been intense across the field as of late. There it is, a bit of a wobble, a bit of a weeble, and opens the door.
Wobble, weeble, 1st place, 2nd place, that's all it is. Evan McKay now gets the benefit of the slipstream and maybe saving a little bit more here, but if you didn't save in the beginning, then you're really going to have to worry about saving in this 3rd lap running if you stay out for 3 laps. We've seen it be done. It just was not the popular choice. I'd say 85% of this field decided to come in at the end of lap 2. We're going to have at least one more lap here. Well, at least we're going to have one more lap in this race. No doubt about it. The white flag will be out. Will McKay and Feliz go into the pits? No, they stay out. So they'll take the white. How hard will they race? Will they have enough fuel to go to the end with this white flag out right now? And if they do have enough fuel, Tyler Graf, who has put himself into 4th place, does he almost stand to benefit a lot more because he saved during the first stint? I still have question marks over if most of the field chose to come in at the end of lap 2 and only a couple went in after lap 3. I almost have to think that the ones who went in after lap 3 were fuel saving, and the ones who didn't go in at the end of lap 3, the ones who came in at the end of lap 2, were going flat out and now think they can make it another time around.
At this point, your bet's made. You have to go regardless. I
Exactly.
think in terms of the answer, though, on are we going to see them fight again, going to be down to the last straightaway. Donnager Howlett. After all, a lot of discussion comes down to draft, and another one of the SRT machines having problems. That's Rhines.
Oh, Christopher Rhines at the first corner of this circuit in the GP. Just having an issue right there. We'll have to see. I think he was coming out of the pits and just jumped over the curb. I mean, that is a very downhill, sharp right-hand corner. It almost came back onto the apex, and that could have been disastrous as the time has officially run out here. But we have a lot of racing action left to go before we do see the checkered flag. Feliz and McKay are about as close as you can hope that the two leaders of this race would be going into the last lap at the Nordschleife portion of the track. They all enter it and race down into Hatzenbach, a difficult but rhythmic first section. Get into a bit of a flow before putting the throttle down for the next 30 seconds or so of this lap.
Yeah, as long as he stays within about half a second, I argue. Not even a full second, half a second, I think the fight's on. But it's pretty clear with how things are shaking out between the two of these drivers right now. McKay's in push mode, but is it also to where Jim is trying to save the tires for one last charge for the latter half of the racetrack? It's a big track after all. And one of the main things touched upon, we've seen so many times, is someone cool things off, be a bit patient in some corners, come right back in the second half of the course for the final laps, final straightaway.
Well, my other question too, Justin, is do you want to be first going down the Dottinger Hoa for the final time? I don't know. It depends how far ahead you are.
Yeah.
That slipstream is a massive advantage to the car in second. If you're within a half second, I don't know. I'd almost prefer to be within a half second in second place coming to the Dottinger Hoa. I know you always want to be first, but you're a sitting duck, at least right there. Good job, though, from Evan McKay to stretch out his legs a bit here and put this lead to over a second now on Jim Feliz as they start to get to more of a technical portion of this circuit, running down into Metzgesfeld, and then a bunch of quick rights and left-hand corners before we do move to the carousel. And just around, I'd say, a minute and a half from now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but there's that charge you just talked about. Jim starting to close back up a little bit just in case for the final lap, final stretch. Based on some of the numbers here, we could definitely say, as you discussed, McKay going to be champion. Since second in the championship, in fact, we're not anywhere in the top 16. McKay, very comfortable for that regardless of what happens here, you can very much argue. Because remember, he came in with that buffer of about 24 points, and right now that buffer seems to be, if anything, in position to grow regardless here unless they crash on the final lap. That's the only thing that would change it is a meatball flag, and I don't see that happening unless something wild happens here.
The only way I can see now anything happening is if, yes, like you said, a wreck happens. Feliz finishes 19th or above, and he's champion, no question. But if Jim Feliz has an issue and finishes 20th or below, it kind of depends on who has the fastest lap, and we might be able to get some info on who has the fastest lap in this race as of right now, because that is a very, very important thing. That's 1 point. If the leaders in the championship or anyone involved in that championship battle has the fastest lap of the race, that's a bonus point. Nonetheless, if no one has the fastest lap, then 18th, or I should say 20th, as we see another incident here, 20th is all that Jim Feliz needs. If he finishes 21st, and let's just say Tyler Graff wins, more realistically, Graff would finish third if Jim Feliz has an issue. And if Graff finished third, that's 50 points. That's a 36-point swing. You'd need 37 points of a difference. I'm almost thinking the math is not working out to his favor. It would almost need Feliz to get a meatball right now, and everyone who's taking this last lap to finish this lap. I don't know if that's going to necessarily happen.
And that's not guaranteed, since we already have some of the drivers we've just seen, like Carter, have issues this lap. Give credit to some of the big movers, though, you see on the screen, like Nathan Jennings up 20 spots at the Nordschleife in the span of less than about 35, 40 so minutes. That's a feat and a half here.
Is. Yeah, it certainly is. It is quite impressive. It is not something that is easy to do. But when you do have some time and some consistency like that. That's Green Hell is the Green Hell for a reason. Over 14 miles in length. And by the way, I'm still trying to do the math right here. If Feliz wrecked out, he would be last on this lap, which either would be 24th or 25th because Creighton Carter had an issue and he is back in the pits. He started this lap and then had to tow. With that being said, let's say it was 24th and a third place finish for Graf with no fastest lap involved. That might win him the championship by 1 point for Jim Feliz. I think that 25th is a tie with Graf in third, but tie goes to the one who has the most wins, which would be Feliz. So I think no matter what happens here as well, Jim Feliz has this win.
Well,
I want to say that.
You know, one thing's not in doubt yet, or rather, it could be in doubt.
Race.
This right here.
This is the final time down the Dodger Hoa. The final lap of Season 2. PRL GT3 fixed competition. Jim Feliz leading the overall championship, trying to chase down Evan McKay, who's going for his first PRL victory, and it would come at the Green Hell. They exit this long straightaway through the final couple corners. If there's time to make a move, we've got to see Feliz throw it in and make a move now. I don't think he's going to have enough to do it. He's going to have a bit of a run, though. They're going to be almost side by side going through the start-finish line at the Nordschleife. The two champions in class. Who's it going to be? It is Evan McKay, who wins it by just a 1/10 of a second over Jim Feliz. What a way to end this GT3 fixed season. My goodness, Justin.
How about that for McKay indeed? It took some good defense, but he's able to come up over the edge over Jim. Jim tried to time it up, just needed to be an extra half a car length closer. If anything, that might have been the huge difference between who won the overall race here today. But a great race if your car has neon and white on it. I believe those are top 3 for that color palette from the certain SRT groupings, or from that color palette at least.
Yes, indeed. We still have a lot of time left for these final drivers to end the race. It's actually 12 minutes officially in time remaining for all of these competitors to cross the line for the final time. So we've still got a fair few battles to go here, but some drivers are certainly finishing the race right now, all the way up to a job. Started 27th, trying to make sure he keeps his 19th spot, and that's exactly what it seems like Waldo Walden will do. Really solid job. Nicholas Johnson had an issue of some sort. I just heard him yell something over the the in-car system. Nah, he was just doing donuts and ran into another driver. Evan McKay wins it by just a 1/10 over Jim Feliz, the two champions of this series. McKay winning the AM class, Feliz winning the pro class. I can't think of a more poetic ending to this Season 2 championship than that. Brett Thurman finishes third, gets the podium. Tyler Graff in fourth, Isaiah Osborne fifth, Jared Keane sixth, while Jay Steffi, Andrew Gennaro, Tony Costello, and Christopher Ryan's your top 10. We continue moving it down. Nathan Jennings, Nicholas Johnson, Buck Hamilton, David Bush in 14th, the lone pro class driver in 11th through 20th. Ian Cabana, Sean Provost, Regan Chandler, Pete Magea, Waldo Walden, and Kevin Bergquist, your top 20. Felix Feliz, Dale Peterson, and William Fenson, pro class drivers 21st through 23rd, while Creighton Carter and Scott Jeffries finish on the lead lap, while Joey Costello is 1 lap down. Robert Jeffries finishes 2 laps down. Michael Fowler, Colin McKenzie, Jason Finch, all 3 laps down. They're joined alongside David Morris and Ross Sortino in that 3-lap down portion. They're not going to get any points for that race because they did not complete the complete 50% of it. Sully Saad, Dave Peterson, and Ryan Chandler finished 4 laps down, all the way back in the 35th. And look at that, the fastest lap was Jim Feliz, so he got that bonus point as well. McKay and Feliz, both of them got the bonus points. So impressive right there, Justin. And we're going to grab a few of them up for some quotes, some comments, and who better to start with than the winner of that race by just a tenth, the winner of the AM Class Championship, Evan McKay. Your initial thoughts after jumping out of the car?
Oh man, I'm sweating like crazy. I didn't know if I was going to make it on fuel there, and then we made it just across the line. I'm nervous the whole race. I had no idea I would get pole and a win tonight. I was just hoping for a top 20 finish there. All of a sudden I'm starting first, so came away with the win.
How close were you on fuel at the end? Because we saw Tyler Graff decide to go 3 laps at the beginning. We didn't know if that was going to be a possible thing for everybody to go 3 laps unless you were ultra fuel saving there.
I think I crossed the line with 0.03 liters.
Okay.
Yeah, me and Jim
that's
were kind of
close.
working together there to save some fuel.
Yeah, that was one of the things we were thinking about, but a very good spirited battle. And, did you think at the beginning of this year that you would come away with it with a class championship?
No, I did not. Last season was pretty rough for me. I think I only finished like 3 races, and then all of a sudden this season, pretty much every race except 2, I finished in the top 10. And then within the last race, I was like, oh man, I could actually win the championship. And then I come on tonight and somehow I'm on pole.
Well, Evan, this is your 3rd ever PRL GT victory. Your first of the season comes in glorious fashion. Who do you want to shout out for the end?
Just all of SRT. They're really good at helping me out and getting my strategy right. And yeah, they're a huge player in my improvement this past season.
All right, Evan. Congratulations once again. Your 2024 Season 2 PRL GT3 Fixed AM Class Champion.
Thank you.
That's Evan McKay, and what a great job he did, Justin. And you have the honors of talking to the Pro Class Champion in Jim Feliz.
Yes, indeed. And Jim, you tried to play it out just right, first of all, for the win. But second, you've already been congratulated by your championship rival. You get the title for this season. How does it feel?
It feels incredible. Absolutely delighted. What a great season. Great race tonight, and a nice way to end it. Congrats to Evan. That was a phenomenal drive by him. I was pretty happy just following him. He had a little bobble there in the carousel, but then I returned the favor a lap or so later. But it was so hard to see up front. It was, he did a great job. It was like he had radar or something out there tonight.
I was going to say, you try to time it up just right for the race win. How tricky was that down the town at Jehovah to time it up just right with how to get the run, but better yet, to try and make it a fight for the checker flag for the overall win itself tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to try anything too crazy there. I knew that P2 was more than enough to kind of bring home the championship tonight. So I was pretty happy with that. I did get a little bit of a run on Evan there, and maybe scared him a little bit at the finish. But I felt like I could bring it home, make it a close finish, but do so safely and not stir up too much drama there. So great finish. Really nice to see Evan with a win up there, and then 2 and 3 SRT Yellow right behind him. So great night.
Overall, what does this mean to be a champion for this season, especially with some of the battles that went on, and you, of course, having the wins advantage in the standings? How does it feel to be a champion overall, and how big is it overall?
I mean, it means a lot, and I think that speaks to the level of competition in the league. It certainly was not an easy thing to do. Tyler is such a class act, like you said. He kind of shot me some congratulations already. But yeah, he pushed me hard all season long. Really could not afford a single mistake. It felt like he was in the top 5 every week, and so not an easy thing to do. But just thrilled and delighted to have brought the championship home tonight.
Well, once again, Jim, congratulations on becoming the champion. You pick up the pro title for 2024 Season 2.
All right, thanks, Justin. Appreciate it.
Jim Feliz picking up the title, Dylan.
Yeah, great job from Jim Feliz right there. And we still, of course, have to bring in our final podium finisher in Brett Thurman. And Brett did a fantastic job right there, just kind of staying in catbird seat in case anything happened. And Brett, I feel like, it might have been a bit of a boring race for you at times there.
You know, I actually did have to fight boredom there. I almost lost it a couple times by not paying attention because I had nothing for Jim or Evan. They did a fantastic job preparing this week.
Yeah, they did a great job for sure. Now, of course, coming away, finishing the championship with that third place finish, does that give you maybe a little bit of hope going into season 3?
Yeah, you know, I'm certainly happy with the podium. I can't complain about that. It wasn't what I was looking for, but I'll take it.
All right, Brett. And of course, got to know your thoughts on the Nordschleife and getting a podium there. It's very difficult. It's a driver's track, and you certainly proved something tonight.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. And I'd like to thank my team. Jared and all his work has brought our team a long way, and it shows tonight. So thanks, guys.
Not a problem, Brett. Thank you, and congrats once again. Brett Thurman finishing third there in the GT3 Fixed Series. And we're right back at the Nordschleife, Justin. And this time, there's not much different except the series. It's the GT3 Sprint Series. It's 40 minutes of racing, which again equates to all but certainly 5 laps of the Nordschleife. But this time we shouldn't have any issues with getting to 50%, well, to 3 laps of fuel, 50% fuel capacity compared to 40% in the previous series. Different track conditions, at least right now as well. This time they're qualifying in sunny, or at least sunset conditions. Dylan Coyle, Justin Prince bringing to the action here. You know, the last round was fully competed in nighttime. This one is going to be fully, at least for now, in the qualifying session at sunset. Might be more into the evening once we do get to racing. Let's also take a look at the AM class standings here. This is the tightest of the 4 champions that will be crowned tonight in terms of the deficit. Chris Long only 10 points in front of Luis Gourland, and then Rich Calais. I mean, there's a lot of drivers who can mathematically take this championship and win it all here. In fact, as I'm doing my math here, if you do the math, Justin, it's a dangerous thing. Anyone in the top 10 right there can still win. And take a look at the pro standings too.
Yeah, that's going to be a tight one where one mistake can cost him at the championship. It's not so big when it comes to the pro side, though. Ovando's given a good fight to Baldy throughout the entire season, but for Baldy, it's been a pretty strong year, to say the very least, in his Ferrari. The 325 points obviously coming in, but better yet, the 3 wins and the more consistent runs and fastest laps been a part of the big differences here. In fact, Ovando, remember, he got in this position despite missing the opening race of the season, then having a DNF. He's had to come from a race down to be in second spot overall in the standings too. It's been that type of a season for Boris.
So a big thing as we take a look at the overall, which is the same as the pro standings, with the top 10 consisting completely of pros in this one. A big thing to note is that the Sprint Series class, as we look at the team standings, which is also pretty close between the top 3, Precision Racing Blue in the lead. What's really interesting is that all of these drivers could take 2 drop weeks instead of the typical 1 because of connection issues that happened at Monza. So these standings are with 2 drop weeks counted into it. We still, though, only have round 9 as the undroppable week. With that being said, that's every result matters a lot more here, although there only are 25 drivers in this race, at least registered for this session, which obviously changes the math a little bit.
Yeah, that leaves a lot less in terms of flexibility for some to be able to pick up some points, but this is going to be an interesting race. Here's the one thing I can tell you. At least 4 drivers didn't get times put in, and one of them will very much shock some people.
Oh boy, you are absolutely right there. I don't know what I know what we're gonna say, but let's just run through the starting grid. Kevin Cantonio and Boris Ovando your top 2 drivers, and that's big for Cantonio, 34 points back of Garibaldi in the championship standings, and now gets pole. That makes a bonus point. He's 33 points back now of Baldi. And David Mandanka, Chris Seong, Martin Crisp, Fernando Jaquez, your first 3 rows of drivers. And then in P7 will be Ethan Bass, 4th, Chase Wilson in 8th, with Kevin Simpson, Luis Grillon in 10th, Emmett Lindquist, Chris Long 11th and 12th. Grillon and Long obviously going to be competing a lot for this AM Class Championship. Diego Ayer, Rich Calais, Mateus Carvalho, Artie Mercedes, Miles Brown, Chris Stewart, your front 9 rows. Devin Brock, Keith Maines, Sean Murphy, Aiden Young, Marc-Andre Garon, Eric Staropoli. Who did I not say, Justin?
Well, here's the one thing. This one. Yes. Technically, he's 24th starting spot because the 93 is not in session, but Baldi will have to start tail end of the field. Did not get a clean lap in.
That is very concerning for the championship because it's not completely over yet, especially with Boris Ovando and Kevin Cantonio, 2nd and 3rd in the championship, starting up front. Now, if 25 drivers are in this race, and you do make 3 laps of this race, and there will be drivers who most likely DNF before those 3 laps, you're going to have the opportunity to make up 26 points. I'll do some math, Justin, but there is a possibility that's enough if Baldi has some issues early on.
Yeah, and that's the huge thing. If there's any attrition for him involved in it, it opens up the door for the championship very unexpectedly for him. If he keeps it clean, I think absolutely he's going to be okay. He's got raw pace. In final practice, he was top 5, mind you. He just had incident points on each of the laps for qualifying, and that's a huge thing here at the Nordschleifer is it's very easy to touch the grass.
All the time, you are trying to jump over the curbs to get the straightest line possible. And I don't know a single track that has curbs as deadly and dangerous as the Nordschleife, to be quite honest with you. It is a rough track to deal with. Let's try and do some quick math. 24 drivers, like you said, because of Eric Staropoli, and at least not taking the start of this race. If only 24 drivers are in the race and will score points, then that means the lowest you can score if you finish 3 laps and everyone else does is 27 points. That would get, I believe, make it that Cantonio cannot win the championship. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say yes, because he'd be 60 points behind at the very least. And you can't make up that deficit. If Baldi finishes 24th, gets 27 points, and does complete 3 laps, we're looking at a 52-point deficit to Boris Ovando. The tiebreaker would be wins. Both Ovando, and Baldi have 3 wins. This is going to be crazy. Pace safety car is off into pit lane. This could be an absolute barn burner of a finale at the Nordschleifer GT3 Sprint Series action. Cantonio gets off to a flying start, and not a good one for Boris Ovando. They're 3 wide and behind for 3rd.
Got to keep this safe with the 3 wide, and we're already having contact and crashing.
Big smoke, big mess. Who's off track? It's Chase Wilson. So they all, for the most part, make it. No, one spins right in front of the balance of the field. Not much contact. Couldn't quite see who took a spin right there, as they're still trying to fight it out for the lead of this race under sunset-like conditions here. It is 8:35 p.m. Eastern on a 12-hour clock, 20:35 on a 24-hour clock, and a 5-lap dash to the end here. Let's take a look at a replay of what happened to Chris Long.
Yep, that was who it was just going to say. Ended up getting loose coming out of the arena section. And that's going to have championship swing implications, because not only does that come into play in a wrong time for the title fight, but Grullon, who had a much better qualifying run, is already top 6 on the racetrack. Chris Stewart, meanwhile, is a part of the several drivers who got stacked up in front. 2 of those neon and purple machines made contact. Chris Stewart in particular got hooked up in the second layer of incidents through the first corner.
Oh, goodness me, as they all try and move through the final portions of the GP circuit before running on to the Nordschleife section. The green hell awaits all who enters, and they all enter, storming in with Cantonio in the lead. Let's take a look at a replay here, Justin.
Yeah, I believe we're back to live action, in fact, but your race leader, Cantonio, is looking very solid as he runs to the sunset. It's a choo-choo train effect, though, starting to build up quickly behind Mendanka. We've already seen a lot of drivers talk about fuel in terms of saving, in terms of seeing if they can stretch the runs. Some of the drivers going to need to start right now for obvious reasons, and we're already seeing drafting trains hook each team hook up and work with one another to try and reach that goal.
So, as far as I can tell, still doing some math here. Another replay coming up. We'll see exactly what happened. Already Mercedes. Oh, wow, that's a big mess. Multiple cars involved right there. Not much damage, but just some heated tires and some contact between 3 cars. Not too much contact, but again, still enough for it to be a slight concern as the sun bakes this track beautifully right now.
Yeah, but it's going to stay fairly cool in theory with it being the late conditions in the session. Looks like something pretty substantial just happened here. Am leader, there's a parking lot of sand-trapped drivers, and it is your AM class on-track leader who is in it. Remember the good run for Grullon? He's just had it thrown away in the Porsche.
Oh no, huge incident for Grullon, and it's his own fault. It's his own problem. That's a massive hit once you do see the replay. Hit the front end of that Porsche twice, and then it all just collided in. 2 more cars joined. Let's ride on board.
Yeah, just got loose, hit the grass, and ended up overcorrecting to the right. Slams hard on the Armco. And then 2 others just so happen to be crashing the same section
3
right into his lap.
I mean, that's a crazy parking lot right there of drivers who are involved in ways they do not want to be involved in. And this AM class has been completely thrown wide open. We were talking about Chris Long maybe being out of the running, and now it almost looks like he's back in to the lead of the AM class. But again, we'll have to continue to see what happens here. Grullon, Long, Air, Calais. I mean, there's only a few AM class drivers in this field right now.
Yeah, and at least half of them have already managed to have an incident. We're not even a quarter to the racetrack, let alone the race yet. And we're talking about a massive amount of implications here, but that 77 machine is going to be an interest you want to keep an eye. Current AM leader in the hot lava conversation. Choo-choo train for everybody else as they try not to do what just happened to everyone else.
Oh man, so Miles Brown and Artie Mercedes have towed themselves back into pit lane. Who knows if they're going to get restarted again, which means there's only 21 potential drivers still in this race on this circuit right now. Devin Brock, meanwhile, also is in pit lane. So that's 3 drivers into the pits as we ride on board with probably the last time we're ever going to see this Ford machine do battle in PRL competition with the new Ford Mustang GT3 machine coming into the sim soon.
Yeah, I think for Ethan, he's going to very much have that concession speech about his Ford ready pretty soon. It's a long time coming, though, to have the updated car, and the Corvette especially is in the conversation you've seen on social medias. It's not a shock to see it finally. It's just the question of just the time of how long it took to get the update. But I will say this. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of a send-off to the Ford because of how much love some of the drivers built to love with the car.
Yeah, that's 100% true. They certainly love that Ford GT, those drivers of the Ford GT, here's a replay of the safety car just sitting there looking menacingly at us at the camera in turn 1. Quite scary. Keith Maines, though, also got a little spooked by that safety car and almost brought out one himself.
You know, it's a very spooky pace car, safety car, when they spook you from the other side of the racetrack. Not expecting to come back out, but sometimes it will say, come back and join me. But here's the interesting thing on the estimates. I'm looking across the timing screens here, and right now the estimate is showing a 6-lapper, not just a 5-lapper. With the extra fuel, though, it should be okay-ish. Remember, these cars, if you save, on a full tank can go 65 minutes. It's going to be tight, but we might see a lot of people try and stretch it even with the extra lap. It's going to be tight.
I'm going to say no to that, because if their top speeds in qualifying are 8 minutes, 10 seconds, let's just say they went 10 seconds faster each lap than qualifying, and they're still hitting the 40-minute mark.
Yep.
At the end. So I think we're going to be at, with a minute to go in lap 5, we're going to see the white flag appear for the checkered to come out at the end as Luis Gruon. Is this a replay? Yeah.
I think it was, and
gosh.
That was just how vicious the crash was.
Massive.
Just to have the championship implications kind of emphasized big time. Second in points once again. For those who missed this look to the standings, that was second in points, having the off and having to crash there. And this has opened the door for Rich Calais, if anything, third in standings, who is second in track on in AM.
Look at this. This might be a daring maneuver in the final couple corners of the Nordschleife right here. I think that was smart for Chris Seong just to chill. To just chill for the moment being. No reason to force it against Fernando Jaquez.
Yeah, right now, I think, again, it's for many of these drivers, it's too early to push. It's not too early for lights, though. It looks like if you're a couple of these drivers, especially if you're in the Ford, and already it's down to patience yet again. That comes into play. If you're over-aggressive even this early, you're in major trouble. It looks like at the very least, though, Cantino's in full push mode. I've noticed Cantino's been nearly going off to the racetrack several dozen times over. But others, like Ovando, have just said, you know what? There's only a 13 incident point limit before you have to serve black flag. I'm not pushing for anything, and especially if you're talking about gas here, I'm not pushing and risking losing the race on the final lap from incident points.
And you know what? Boris Ovando needs this win more than anybody, because Kevin Cantonio, at the end of lap 3, if we do see Baldy continue to run, will be out of it. He will be out of the championship fight. If Garrigo Baldy reaches the end of lap 3, reaches lap 4 competition, and with 21 drivers currently remaining on track, if that means Baldy would finish, let's just say 21st, if that's the case, there's only one way that Ovando can win the championship. Win.
Yeah.
And then it would be without a... Now, the other thing is, Baldy can get a fastest lap. And that would put it back into his favor. So here's the interesting thing. It could come down to whoever gets the fastest lap. Now, if another driver gets out of this race, 21st for Baldy, which is the lowest he can get if no one else comes back on who towed, as well as a win for Ovando without bonus points factored in, they tie on points. But Ovando wins because of the tiebreaker being wins. Who went off there?
I believe that's Jaquez, hard in the wall, slit the tires. Let's take a look, because it's so easy to make a mistake in the curbing. You get one tire off like this, picks up the car, weight shifts it, bobble shoe, hard in the wall on the slide.
Yeah, it's just kind of how it works here, and lots of traffic right in behind. That could have been a lot worse if drivers behind weren't quick to react right there. Jaquez gets back going again, still seems to have some speed, but might have to compete with a car coming around his right side at high speeds. They go over the leap there. Woohoo! That is not a comfortable place to make a move, but I think when you start to see kind of like an ailing machine right there that Carvalho saw on Jaquez, I think you got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that a lot of drivers don't want to be boxed in behind slow cars unless it's a fuel-safe mechanism. Martin Crisp right now, for example, has become the next grouping of drivers. Hard save, 18-18. 8 minutes, 18 seconds rather last time. Started to form up a choo-choo train with Lindquist, with Bass, and everyone else as we've been keeping an eye on here. It's really more so how will you plan things out over the course of time, and it's pretty clear just even listening to how much Crisp is letting the car roll in some of the higher speed sections in terms of where you expect a bit more throttle. He's absolutely concerned about just making the distance on raw pace. Oh, by the way, Baldy on raw pace is one of your fastest cars on the racetrack. He's gained a second so far nearly this lap, or had before reaching traffic.
That's pretty remarkable. Pretty remarkable. Fastest car, fastest lap gets a bonus point, and that would, I'm almost positive, a fastest lap with the amount of drivers still in this race would potentially give the championship to Garrigo Baldi. I'll continue to monitor that. I know you've been monitoring a lot from the M-Class Championship. Who is currently in first, do you know?
To answer your question, car 77, Ari is still there, right in the midst of some of the battles, and we've just had problems for Jaquez. He's just parked it.
He did. He certainly parked it right there. He had another, he didn't even have really an issue. He just said, I'm done. You'll see him pull off to the grass, pull off to the side right here, tow the car. I don't know why you don't continue moving, continue running right there. I know you have an entire half a lap to go before you get to the pits, but to me, that's race over at that point. So that is a big moment, especially for the championship right here. Which, by the way, I think Miles Brown is back in the car. I wouldn't say he's back going, but he might go back onto the circuit again and try and complete some laps.
I mean, he probably still wants the points. It's a very long tow here, at least a lap, depending on where you have the incident. So I don't blame him. You want to score points. You don't want to have a 0 for the points to end off the campaign. This carousel portion, a couple drivers mentioned making mistakes here during the fixed race. Looks like not too many mistakes this time in this group.
By the way, at this point now, it has to be with 20, let's just say 20 cars are still in, has to be a win and a fastest lap for Ovando and Baldi to finish last out of the remaining drivers. It's looking more and more like a tall task right now.
Yeah, it's just at this point wishful thinking for some people. It's let's plan it out and do something from there. The reason, by the way, you see the person in the pit lane for Simpson, he started from the pit lane. Safe choice. That's where a lot of incidents happen on the opening lap. But here's the thing. That's the interesting thing I'm noticing with the 606. You're talking about essentially from dead last with an offset of at least 10 seconds. He's already picked up at least a quarter of the spots back. All that's while Ovando, with the camera we've been keeping an eye on, has really been struggling on some of these corners. Nearly spun it on the carousel once or twice. And then Danka's right now in prime position to pounce if he chooses.
Yeah, this is going from bad to worse right now for Ovando. We're riding on board with David Mandanka. And, I mean, you can see how much width of this track that Ovando is using right now. You've got to use it all here more than most, but, and look at that, a little bit of drifting. And, almost saved it. Oh, he did save it, and then lost it. That's unfortunate right there, putting himself into the tire barrier, that Ferrari. And then we see that Ford GT machine, Ethan Bass, 7th, not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. It is a great track for it to run at. It's solid as a car when you have draft. And, well, this is a track where draft can be critical in a lot of portions. Also, Bass is a really solid driver. I'm curious what he's going to do next season until the Ford's fully ready to go, or if we see the Ford already ready to go next season. What does he go towards here already? They talked about in the posts that this could be the last photo of the Ford in the GT3 for PRL within the community. Side by side, Bass has the better run and contact.
That is a bold place to make a move. And just before slowing it down to make the right-left snake onto the GP circuit, Ethan Bass took the position away. Great gutsy effort right there to move into 6th for Ethan as Kevin Cantonio sets the fastest lap of the race. He's P1 right now, and he is flying away from Boris Avando.
Yeah, that is so far just kind of led to what Cantonio's been doing, just forcing him to try and keep up, running away as fast as possible, and it just so happens Cantonio seems towards, well, straight up dialed in mode. The lap time difference, last time by 2 seconds. Here's the thing, Ovando had a bunch of off tracks. Cantonio, even though he had an off track in the opening lap, net nearly wrecked him, and is very snap loose, I've noticed, on keeping an eye on the 10's motions. Cantonio's still getting clean laps despite being a drift car in some sections.
It is certainly true. Sometimes it pays to take advantage of early race freshness on the rubber. And it's not like they're going to take tires, right? You got to make those tires last all 5 laps around here, which is, it shouldn't be too difficult given the current tire model in iRacing to make those tires last 40 minutes, 5 laps, which really, when you again do the math, that's like 70 miles. It should not be too tough. 70 miles is still a lot, but...
Yeah, but it's the green hell. It's not like 70 miles at... What's the easiest racetrack in the world?
You want? I was gonna say something very inflammatory that I don't believe in, but I thought it would be funny.
Okay.
I was gonna say Indianapolis.
Are you kidding?
I'm completely kidding. But I know that people would absolutely start throwing things at the screen. I watched like 15 hours of practice and qualifying this past week at Indy. I was thinking of the right side tires and the load that happens during practice and qualifying there, and just the drop off after a couple laps, 10 miles of four laps, 10 miles for qualifying runs there, and just how much drop off there is in tenths of a mile per hour based on the load on the right sides. I was going to say it's not like that, and then you said the easiest track, and then I looked really stupid. If I said Indy. So I said Indy because I thought it would be stupid. You understand my thought process here, Justin?
Yeah, I kind of do. I still think people are absolutely going to go shouty in response to...
I'm just joking!
Yes.
Daytona's easier.
Yeah. Well, Daytona's still challenging with the bumps.
It certainly is. It certainly is. Look at this battle for 11th. This is big for the championship here in the AM class.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think, more so a fuel-saving device here for the 76, hence the move. They are teammates here. You can tell by the color palettes. So at this point, it's Pro Driver faster, but also Pro Driver, I'm going to help you try and sort this out. I'm going to help you close the bridge if I can, if you will, in some circumstances. Because look at that interval between cars. It's near 2 seconds. For the 76 to have the race opportunity here, it needs to be right up to the back end of wherever he is on the racetrack, and that's going to be extremely tricky without any help. Mendanka, though, he's still doing a solid job just riding along and letting Ovando push himself out the racetrack as he saves all the fuel.
Yeah, doing a really solid job right there. Mendanka is really hot on the tail. I don't even know, though, how much fuel they're really trying to save. I don't know how much they really are trying to save. They might, stay in the slipstream, as we saw with the 2 teammates just a moment ago. But remember, they do have the fuel, the extra little bit in the tank than the fixed race did. and they could make it in 3 laps.
Yeah, this is where if you're iffy, you think. But remember, you're losing a lot of time on the racetrack if you have to come in and it was already borderline for some of the others. So I think, again, if you do have to try and do anything, you better be sure that it's going to be the right move. And we've always said,
Don't do another. Don't do 4 laps. That's crazy.
some people will try it.
Some people are going to be out of their dang minds if they try it. They will try it, though.
Like I said, they'll try it. They'll lose draft. It'll be risky for some. But for some, it might be some of the only plays they can make.
Mendonca, by the way. I know we're not watching what is going on with second and third. We got a close battle, of course, with Bass and Lindquist. Mendonca almost, I don't know if he had a hardware problem, but he almost just put it into the barrier, and he lost around a second to Boris Avando.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that in the corner of my eye as well, because just keeping up, then all of a sudden gone from the conversation there. So it is a racetrack that can be very hardware intensive.
Yeah. That's a pretty accurate thing, and I don't think a lot of people think about that, but it puts a lot of stress on your wheel, your pedals, just your kind of mental fortitude to make it through here unscathed. And Garibaldi trying to make his way into 8th. By the way, trying to watch, but I think Luis Guillon decided to either park it for good or just get damage repaired. He's been in the pits for a very extended amount of time, currently in 20th and 21st on back, have all retired and left this session. So that is a curious thing for the championship.
It's a curious thing, absolutely, but at this point for Guillon, I think you take him out of the conversation here. Chris Long, if anything, with everything else that's happened, might still get the title. I think will get the title still, just on sheer the 14 having the trouble. If it was the 14 stay on the racetrack, I think Alon's in push mode right now. Now he could just breathe.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. Chris Long, minimum he'd be able to get if Guillon comes back onto the track, and somehow, there's a big issue for Chris Long. The minimum Long could get is 20th place points, which is 31 points. That would give him, let's say, over Rich Calais, a 41-point advantage, if I'm doing the math right. 41 point over Luis Guillon and 44 over Rich Calais, as we're probably going to see a pass here. Another one for Garibaldi down the John Jerhoa. Aiden Young is going to be the next victim for Baldy, but this is a daring place to even think about a move, and I think that's the smart thing to do when you still have to contend for a championship here. Just kind of take your foot off the throttle and rethink it. Cantonio, Avando, Mendonca, Song, Crisp, Bass, Lindquist, Young, Baldy, they're all in the pits. Air, Calais. All right, so far, half the field in. Wilson, Marc-Andre Garon, Chris Stewart, Kevin Simpson, Chris Long. Top 16, all down pit lane.
Well, you did say it'd be really tough to go any further, and it looks like nobody ended up trying to stretch it. Congratulations on that point going your direction.
I don't usually get it correct all the time.
But, I mean, everybody's just keeping it simple. Just simply 10 seconds, top off, get out, get it done, get it over with like a Band-Aid.
Not a bad idea whatsoever, as we don't really see that much of a swap of positions. It's just Cantonio is just flying right now. It's an unbelievable race for the driver of the number 10 Ferrari. just doing a stupendous job of making sure that that car is as planted as possible. I mean, I don't even want to say planted. It's firmly in first, but the way that Cantonio is driving it, you would almost assume that there's some crazy stuff happening. We got a replay on board with Sean Murphy here. Is this a mess? It looked like a mess from a lack of balance, going over the curb, and then maybe just a little bit too much of load put into that left or that right side of the car.
I mean, he hit the wall. Anything with the wall is pretty bad here. I mean, depending on the angle, it's almost like hitting a brick wall, almost, except with metal. Just the whole right side of the Ocho machine got destroyed. I think it's going to be a better look at this.
I think a brick wall with metal is unfortunate.
I mean, those exist. Metal to protect the wall. Unfortunately, that basically just destroyed the whole front. And I can already tell you, keeping an eye on Murphy in live action, he is going to have a hard time keeping the car straight, because the more aero contact or more harder hits with the damage models these days on the platform, the more difficult it is going to be just to be able to keep a straight line. Even if it says no mandatory damage, it's still damage.
Certainly is still damage, excuse me. And by the way, where they're currently running in the AM class, Chris Long would, like you said, be champion. Rich Calais would have to gain 9 positions, and they'd still just be tied. If where he runs in 12th, he needs 3rd. If Long finishes 14th, and now Long's actually moved up into 13th. Just made a move on Chase Wilson, and that's a big set of moves, which means that Calais needs 2nd. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's going to require the entire field to all of a sudden have the rain strike the racetrack and slide off the circuit except for him. That's not going to happen for anyone who's going to say we have 0% chance of rain. Now, in other words, what I'm saying is breathing time for Chris Long. He threw it away, and unfortunately, everybody else responded with throwing their chances out the window and into the trash bin themselves.
Devin Brock, by the way, is back out on track. So, that's, if anyone else throws it away, that is something to look back on. And Louis Guillaume as well is back out on track. So, there's still some twist in the tail that could occur in this race yet. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I'll tell you what, Ethan Bass came out of pit lane in 5th, gained some spots there, and just made a move on Emmett Lindquist for 4th. This man is rolling.
Yeah, so far, keeping an eye on the timing. Cantonio's been an absolute roll, yes, but I'm really liking the pacing in particular still from Andanka to pressurize Ovando on screen, because Ovando's just kind of almost pushing Boris to the point of just near uncomfortability. And right now, it just doesn't seem like Boris is as comfortable with the race car compared to what you would think.
It's still interesting, though, because he's still 2nd place in this race, right? At a very difficult racetrack. But it's not a comfortable 2nd place, and it's not a Boris Ovando type 2nd place, right? There is that lack of comfort that he certainly has right now. And I mean, if you're running nose to tail almost in front of another car here, that's scary. That is concerning.
Yeah, and oh, that is extremely concerning, because that was your AM leader. You just don't want to lead the class today.
Nobody wants to win the AM class in this one.
Yeah, his lead's gone.
Diego Ayer is the AM class leader. Aiden Young is having problems.
Yeah. And surprisingly, from a hit like that, if we're looking at timing correctly, it's still within a second. Although how long that lasts is going to be the question with how that car is going to be handling, because the 77 has Chris Stewart on his tailpipe, just like Mendonca's on the tailpipe of Ovando.
Yeah, Mendonca, if he can't make the move, if he stays this close when we do get to the Dottinger Hoa in just a couple minutes, there's no way that I can't see him making up all the time he needs to make up to make the move occur, as we're at the most southern point of this track. I want to try my hand at pronunciations of corner names.
Uh-oh.
But I don't want to embarrass myself.
I mean, where's Peter Mackay where you can get him?
That's true.
Can we wake him up and get him to pronounce every single corner by heart
It's
again?
What, 3:17, 4 o'clock for him?
Yeah.
Something like that. I think we should wake him up.
I don't think he'll appreciate it.
I think he would understand in due time.
I mean, it's been a busy time for him, but I was going to say...
Schwab and Schwartz. Yes?
Race cars are on the racetrack, and
tight.
I was going to say, despite all the wall contact, Chris Stewart somehow is still slower than a car that just did a full parallel into the wall. He was on the tailpipe, and this is even with Eric going off the track. Here's the problem. Stewart's matching a mistake for mistake.
Listen, the green hell takes a lot and doesn't really give all that much, and this is it's kind of like battling of drivers who just don't want to give each other spots. And I think what we're seeing right here with these three, and Calais, Long, Wilson, it's kind of insane to me. We're talking about Wilson being in third in this battle right now, behind what is not the AM class race lead, but it's pretty much the catbird seat. And by the way, I think we're seeing some very close racing action with Chris Stewart catching up to Diego Ayer as well. This is some awesome AM class battling here.
Yeah, it's been intense, and it looks like the teammates are going with the maneuver, saying, you know what? Right on ahead. We know that you've been leading the championship, Chris. Go right on ahead. We're going to help you become a rocket ship and catch up to that battle because they're too busy making mistakes.
Speaking about mistakes, Mendonca made some big mistakes before getting to the Dottinger Hoa and lost around a second or close to it, and had no way of getting a good enough slipstream to catch up to Ovando. So Boris Ovando still holds the lead in the last lap of this race. I know we were talking about it, Justin, but I never thought there was a legitimate chance to get a sixth lap. This is the final lap.
Yes, indeed. I think that's because the pit stops, obviously, on the timing are wise. We'd be talking about this being very tight on that lap. But Cantonio's just been a rocket today. I don't know else what you can really say when you have sectors differences like this. Mind you, this is with the pit stop sequence from before, but still, Cantonio's just beat him everywhere.
He really has. Cantonio has been the absolute class of the field. And before, we're going to talk a lot about Cantonio winning this race and putting on such a dominant show, but we also have to talk about the fact that Garibaldi, who started dead last in it, still has an honest chance at fourth place in this race. Has to get around 3 cars here. But based on the speed he's shown, fourth place is very possible. He's only 2 seconds back of Ethan Bass. And for the Scuderia Ferrari esports driver, I think this is expected, right? This is what you expect, a performance like this out of Baldi. He's kept it safe. He still has the most outside chances to lose this championship. But I think at this point, he knows what he's got, and he knows what the opportunity is to win this. There's a bit of a blink in front of him from Chris Seong. That could have been a little bit sketchy.
Honestly, he would have been up there in second if it wasn't for the fact he had all the off tracks. Cantonio's been much quicker. Oh man, some trouble in front. Good response time yet again.
Scary, but that's the experience with trying to chase down drivers through the Nordschleife portion, the North Course here at the 24-hour combined racetrack. Battle for 9th, Diego Air. This is currently the battle for the AM Class win of this race. They all get overall points, 9th and 10th place overall points for Air and Stort. But it's a pretty solid battle. Diego Air came into this race 7th in the championship. Chris Stort came into it 9th. And both of them are looking really solid right here. And Ethan Bass, too. Emmett Lindquist is chasing. He didn't let Bass get away from him at all. When Bass made the move coming out of the pits on Lindquist on that outlap, he did not waste any time in putting himself right back onto that rear wing of Ethan. But, I mean, nonetheless, Gergo Baldi is right there as well. So that's going to be an interesting addition to this party.
Yeah, I think Baldi, if he keeps the tempo up, is going to eat him up like breakfast in terms of pace right now. Just outside drafting distance, I think it's just going to be getting within that final half a second. Then it's just how do these drivers on screen handle it. I think Bass is going to fight it. I think, though, Baldi has a chance with the Dodger Hoa to just zip on by like a rocket the second he tries to go for the double toe in that Scuderia Ferrari esports team machine.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is assuming anything else from Baldi in this one. I think if you're Bass or Lindquist and you're able to hold him behind for the entirety of the last 60% of this lap, that would be almost a win of itself. Because if you see that red Ferrari that Gergo Baldi is in coming at you in your rearview mirror, that's a scary sight.
Yeah, and in case anyone's missed the entire season, lived under a rock, well, Bass, first of all, has just destroyed the car, just about, into the Armco. But second thing second, that gives the draft. Third thing third, you're talking about the Hungarian Esports Driver of the Year. And you're talking about somebody who made a name for himself in Ferrari's own esports series. Hence why it opened up the opportunity essentially with the factory team to say, why not join us and become an esports driver for Scuderia Ferrari?
That's like a dream, right? Yeah, it's almost as good as driving in a real-world Ferrari and real-world Ferrari, works team equipment. It's awesome, and he's doing such a phenomenal job. And now is hot on the tails. I mean, he is right there going through the carousel. Look at how comfortable he is driving through it and how straight his line was. He might have come off the carousel just a tiny bit too soon, but it was a very comfortable line for him.
Yeah, it's been that type of a day despite the troubles. AM lead. Oh, this time Chris Stort went for it, got turned for it.
That's a big collision there for Stort. Holy jumping. He had to take a tow, obviously, after that one. It's a little bit of net code. Definitely internet connection problems between he and Air.
I mean, Air had the second time in 2 laps went off the track in that section. You gotta give it up at that point. That's definitely got to be looked at, possibly a post-race, with how close that got. Air or not, there should have been some give and take.
Well, I agree, but I think when race control looks at the replay, they'll see that there was a lot of separation still between those two before it actually resulted in contact. So yes, a little bit reckless for sure, getting back on the track in that fashion, but there still should not have been contact based on where both of those drivers thought they were driving. Just a shame though, because that was the AM class lead of the race. What twists the AM class has had, and I mean, what better humbling point than at the Nordschleife as Cantonio starts down the Dangerhola for the final time in this race. And it's been a fantastic drive for the Los Polos Hermanos car. It's breaking bad down this straightaway.
Yeah, what a rocket today. What a pace from Cantonio. The second the race went green, he basically just about broke the draft. That car's just on rails.
It has certainly been on rails. Kevin Cantonio. What a fantastic drive from him. He is not only going to get his first win of the season, he's going to get his first win in PRL action. Kevin Cantonio dominates at the Nordschleife. He wins the final race of the season. By the way, the battle between Bass and Lindquist, they both wrecked. They both wrecked it. Bass into the wall, Lindquist into the wall. Garibaldi's going to take away 4th place, and still more cars coming together. Lindquist, or Seong, got back into Ethan Bass, and they're now in a drag race to see who gets into P5. It's Ethan Bass. Holy cow.
I'm curious what triggered that in the first place. But again, it's the last lap for the season. Ethan Bass, he definitely tried to make a statement saying, let's finish well with the Ford, but Avando and Madaka coming away on those podium spots in front of it.
Once we get the replay, I'd love to see a replay of that Bass-Lindquist incident, because I've got my thoughts, and they kind of, as we see a replay of Martin Crisp, what happened to him here, just losing it, kissing the barrier. I'd almost say we're still not at that replay here. Oh, here's the Chris Stort replay. So it's kind of hard to see that separation I was talking about, Justin, at least on my end. But, I mean, without seeing the separation, it looks like a flat-out dump, which, of course, Netco wasn't the problem. That's what it was, but it did seem like Netco was the problem. Still waiting on that replay from Bass, but what a crazy finish to the race and to the season here.
Yeah, that was a wild final lap and final couple corners, to say the very least. So, Chris Long, give him credit, though. The Championship Racing Collective collected him a title.
Yes, it certainly did. Cantonio, the win and pole and fastest lap. He did so much here to get himself a good haul of points. Boris Avando will take second in the race by just 4/10 over David Mandanka. Avando certifies himself second in the championship, with Cantonio getting into 3rd place in the championship by just a few points over Boris, or over Kevin Cantonio. David Mandanka 3rd. Garibaldi, the overall Pro Class champion. What a drive from him today. Ethan Bass puts the Ford GT into the top 5 to end its run as a PRL car. Chris Seong, Emmett Lindquist, Marc-Andre Garon, Kevin Simpson, and then the AM Class winner, it's Chris Long, who spun on lap 1. He's not only the AM Class winner, he's the AM Class champion. Chase Wilson in 11th, Rich Calais in 12th, with Diego Ayer in 13th, Aiden Young, Mateus Carvalho, Martin Crisp, Keith Maines, Chris Stort, and Sean Murphy, as well as Louis Gerlon, your top 20 drivers. Brock, Jaquez, Mercedes, and Miles Brown. Right out your 24-car field. Everyone from Jaquez down will not receive points. They did not finish 50% of that race. Justin, what a race it certainly was. And you're going to be standing by with Kevin Cantonio.
Yes, indeed. Kevin able to put up a stellar performance here today. Kevin, first things first, as we take a look at the replay in terms of what happened in terms of the last incident, lots of door banging and contact which triggered Baldy to get through. I'll ask you this to start things off, Kevin. Your thoughts on picking up the win here tonight? You had a rocket 14 seconds over the next closest car.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that. I was honestly used to the Porsche the last 2 weeks coming up to this, because I was doing the Nürburgring 24 with Solpec Precision Racing, but the Ferrari was a rocket here.
Yeah, that's an interesting point to mention because believe there were a couple drivers, including amongst yourself, who were part of those last-second changes there. What was that preparation like for the Nürburgring 24? And in turn, how did that majorly assist in this race here today when it just had 40 minutes on the clock?
It really helped because this honestly wasn't my best track going into the special event, but putting in the hours really helps. It just, the more experience you get each corner, it could be just a couple tenths each quarter, it all adds up, and nailing all those corners really helps practice.
And on that note here, it's touched upon by Dylan, able to break through for PRL victory. How difficult has it been just to be able to get a win in a season like this, let alone a series like this, let alone a league like this?
It's been a challenge. You got to work for it because there's so many good drivers here. It feels really rewarding to get a win.
All right, Kevin, once again, congratulations on the victory. You get it done here at the Nürburgring.
Thank you, man.
Kevin Cantonio, your winner, Dylan.
Yeah, Cantonio, what a solid job right there. And Boris Avando finishing second in the race, second in the championship. It looked like when Garibaldi started last, there was an outside chance he could still become champion. Obviously, it doesn't happen. You finish second in the race, second in the championship. You happy with the way this season went?
Overall, yeah. I mean, you have to be happy when you're up there in the top three. I think it's a big accomplishment. It takes consistency. Obviously, not enough consistency for the top spot, but so not happy about that. But I'll do better next season. That's all I can say.
Well, next season is.
So actually, I think the rain balanced it out a little bit better than if there was no rain.
Now, I feel like whenever you race at the Nordschleife, it's about that concentration, that focus, and I felt like multiple times it seemed like there was maybe just a slight lack of that typical Boris comfort that we've seen. David Mandanka was on you completely throughout the race, but you still held it together. Was there a lot of thought into making that car as wide as possible to defend?
I wasn't really thinking too much about defending, just because David and I are teammates. We worked a lot on the setup together. We raced in the 24, even though I crashed the car. So I'm just not that comfortable with the Nords. So I have to put more laps in. It's one of those that is, there's so many corners. You really have to know where you can push, where you can extract that last little bit without, endangering the car. I just don't quite have that. And hopefully some more laps next season for the next 24 will help me. It's just not a track that I lap a lot, so I think that's where that comes from.
All right, Boris. Any final shout-outs before the season ends here for you?
Always just a big thank you to the team, to everybody that makes it possible, to all our sponsors, the new sponsor, Solpec. Just excited for everything that's coming down the pipeline for PRE, so just be on the lookout.
All right, Boris. Congratulations once again on second place in this race and the second in the championship.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Boris with a solid run there for himself. We got a couple more drivers still to talk to. David Mandanka will run through the final finisher on the podium with you, Justin.
Yes, indeed, David. First things first, how do you feel about the podium to close out the season?
Yeah, I feel great. I mean, anytime you get a podium in the PRL, it's a great accomplishment. So super stoked.
So, obviously an interesting race tonight. How would you describe the viewpoint from yourself in terms of trying to plot things around, but also seeing how things were going with Boris? A couple times he nearly spun it around, in fact, in front of you, it looked like. But you also had serious issues. What happened there?
Yeah, the start, I'm usually not super aggressive in the start, but the Porsche it couldn't pass anybody on the straights. So I kind of had elbows out on the start, and I ran Chris a little wide at the beginning there. Sorry about that, Chris. But Boris was making mistakes, but I was just never in the right place at the right time. And then the Porsche starts to misbehave a little bit when fuel gets low. And I started to get pretty loose last couple of laps, and we had a pretty big gap, so I kind of just backed off a little bit.
So overall, how would you describe the season for 2024 Season 2?
It It's been great. I mean, competition's been good. Started off a little rough, but everybody got pretty clean, and it's just super competitive like always. You know, you have to work your butt off to get in the top 10 here.
Well, on that note, David, congratulations once again on the podium.
Hey, thanks guys, and thanks for Solpec and everybody at Solpec Precision Racing. And like Boris said, we have big things coming, so should be a good time.
Once again, David Mendonca rounding up the podium, but we have championship celebrations on the docket, Dylan. It should be an interesting one.
Yeah, Garrigo Baldi, unbelievable drive to finish in 4th, right outside the podium, but more importantly, secures his first PRL championship with the Scuderia Ferrari Esports team. Unbelievable drive, but it just caps off an unbelievable season for you, Garrigo.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I made a little bit more exciting for myself than I planned to. In the quali, I was like, yeah, a decent lap can be enough, and I wasn't sharp enough, so I did an off-track and never try. So I was like, yeah, I think I was last at the start, so yeah, I had to be a little bit more cautious in the first couple of laps, but yeah, at the end, you know, the trouble didn't find me. Was a bit close in the very last corner, but yeah, it was alright. So yeah, P4, and I think it will be enough points to keep the championship lead. So I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, you definitely had a few heart and mouth moments on that last lap there, especially with multiple incidents happening in front of you. But did you want to, you know, push the issue with any of those, you know, spots in front? If they didn't present themselves to you with that last corner crash, would you have even tried to make a move, or would you just thought the bigger picture with the championship?
No, definitely not. I calculated which position I need to stay in front, and probably, you know, that came into my mind that okay, let's be a little bit cautious, and that was maybe a bit too much, both in the quali and both in the first couple of laps. But yeah, luckily I could manage to avoid any big crashes, and also pushing other people into mistakes on this track is not that rewarding, I think, because, you know, if there's a crash in front of you, it's not guaranteed that you can avoid that. So yeah, I just wanted to keep it clean, and that happened, fortunately.
Garrigo, do you plan to come back next season in PRL competition?
We'll see. Other competitions are coming up as well, but I really enjoyed racing here. The other guys were really fast, so yeah, I really enjoyed, and who knows what the future brings.
All right, Garrigo, I'm going to give you your moment to shout out who you want to shout out, and we'll let you get on going.
Oh yeah, obviously, you know, the team. That was first of all, it was really great to open towards iRacing, because that is a simulator that I really prefer. And yeah, you know, everyone around Scuderia Ferrari helped me to get here. So yeah, I'm really happy to be able to represent this traditional team, and I hope that I can bring a lot more success to them.
Awesome. Congratulations once again on the victory, Garrigo.
Thank you very much.
Garrigo Baldi with that championship run this season. Chris Long won the AM Championship, Justin. That was an impressively fun drive for him.
Yes, indeed, Chris. An emotional time, to say the very least. First of all, the Championship Racing Collective picks up the championship with you at the helm for said championship. How does it feel to be a title winner in the AM class?
Yeah, it's great. Beginning of the season, we thought the Lamborghini was going to be, you know, a pretty good car, and it was okay. It struggled in some areas, but never today did I think I was going to win here with the top speed advantage of the Ferrari and the BMW. Yeah, it was good.
But obviously, it was not easy tonight. What happened at the start, and what was going through your mind as all your other championship rivals here had troubles, or in the case of Reese Grulon, finished a lap down after slamming to the wall about 2 minutes after your spin?
Yeah, that was unfortunate. For myself, I think I pinched it too tight coming off a turn 1 there at the start, and just spun on my own. But yeah, no, it was a good comeback race here, and yeah, no, thanks everybody for having us, and this was fun.
Overall, though, is this championship a part of, well, the collective that seems to like championships based on the name?
Yeah, so we've had few wins in other series and stuff like that. And yeah, it's great to pick up the championship in this one for sure.
Well, Chris, congratulations on the title.
Thank you very much.
Chris Lawn adds a PRL title for him and his collective. I believe there's one more person, though, standing by, Dylan.
One more, and it's more of a send-off, and I'm going to allow Ethan Bass to give what tribute he wants to give to the Ford GT. Ethan, good run, crazy crash at the end. I don't care about that. I just want to hear your thoughts on the Ford GT.
What a wild ride. I've owned this car for over 10 years now, and over these last 40 months since they revived it, and ever since staff took greater attention to detail to GT3s, it's been just most amazing amount of fun. And thanks to the PRL lads, I get to come and race people week after week and learn people have some amazing respect for racing. At the end of there, that was just hard racing at the Nürburgring camping, leaving maybe 1 inch too many.
It definitely was some close, hard-fought racing. We're getting some slow-mo shots of it there, including your dash to the line. But
I got lucky with that dash to the line.
That was pretty cool. You plan on using the new Ford Mustang when it comes in?
I'm definitely going to be trying it. Definitely, I'm going to be incredibly biased, and I probably will run it regardless of what state it is. And I mean, thanks very much to the iRacing staff for letting me drive this thing for the last 40 months, ever since reviving it, and somehow keeping a car active for over 10 years. So you get your investment from it.
Certainly so. Ethan, congratulations on a successful season, finishing 5th with no rear wing with the Ford GT.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's 2 top 5s in this season, and I think I finally sit inside the top 10 of the driver standings. We'll see how it works out exactly. Some people didn't show up, but Nords is quite the extreme challenge, and I actually really like the car around here, so it's a good bit of fun. It's definitely showing its age, because it's easier to get lap time out of the other cars, but this thing sounds better and it's more fun.
Well, sometimes more people should focus on just having fun when it comes to racing. Congratulations on that top 5, Ethan.
Thanks very much. PRL is the best fun I've had in years.
We love to hear that. I love to hear that, at least. Take care, bud. Oh, Ethan Bass enjoys his sim racing, enjoys his Ford GT. 2024 Season 2 signups are open now. Tons of leagues you can get involved in the action. Multiple disciplines, whether it's oval stock car or formula-based race cars, GT, prototypes. You can get involved wherever and however you want. Sign up at precisionracingleague.com and, hey, even be a part of these broadcasts here with myself and Justin Prince and the rest of the RaceSpotTV crew. But it's been fun, and we'll see you tomorrow night with some more PRL action. It's going to be a little bit of PRL Grand National and PRL Truck Series racing same time tomorrow on RaceSpotTV. But from Justin Prince, from Ramiro Cisneros, from myself, Dylan Coyle, we wish you all a pleasant good evening, good night, and good racing.